Hey there, I'm Jerry Trickey with Keller Williams, Coastal Virginia, and thanks for joining me today to talk about the 3 keys to a successful VA assumption. So let's jump right into it. Let's start with, what is an assumption? An assumption is a process that lets the seller who has a VA loan from the Veterans Administration be able to hand over that loan to a buyer. The buyer takes it on. It is not a new loan, but they take on all of the terms and requirements of that loan from that point going forward in time. Why is this valuable? Because then when a seller wants to say that they have an assumable loan, it's a great way for them to market the house. They can say that they have this low rate loan that if a qualified person comes along, a qualified buyer comes along, they'd be able to take that over. On the buyer side, it could be a great opportunity to jump in at a much lower rate, sometimes in the 2 to 3% range based on the past few years of the market versus today's market of in the 6 to 7, maybe even higher percentage range. So it could be a great option for both sides if it's just the right mix. Okay, so what is the first key to a successful VA assumption? It has to be the mindset of the seller. The seller is not going to be a passive bystander in this process, like many times once they get under contract with a regular sale. In a VA assumption, the seller has to take some initiative and be able to jump in and do some things on their end to help the process speed along. So hopefully they'll have the right mindset from the beginning, and that will be a huge key to getting the process started in the right foot. Now for the second key to a successful VA assumption, on the buyer side, it comes down to finances. They have to understand what the finances look like, because this is not a typical deal where they come in and can use a VA loan and not put anything down. In this situation, that's likely not going to happen. You may have several thousand, tens of thousands of dollars that the buyer is bringing to offset the difference. The seller has got a loan that's already been paid down at a great interest rate, but they have a lower amount remaining. That is going to be the amount that's assumed, but that doesn't mean that's what the house sells for. So that difference between what the loan amount remaining is and what the house is selling for, which could be $30,000, $40,000, $60,000, $80,000 sometimes, that has to be brought by this buyer in cash to make the difference. So their finances play a huge part in whether this will be successful and whether it's the right fit as well. So what is the third key to a successful VA assumption? It has to be with working with the right realtor on both sides. Whether you're the seller looking to have a realtor represent you to put the house on the market, that is a key acquisition to your team in getting the right realtor, because they're going to have to do some extra legwork. They're going to have to make sure that things are moved along in the proper order, and they're going to have to understand what comes in, whether it's a good option for you as the seller to take in place of some other option that you may have on the table. On the buyer side, having the right realtor know what they're doing and be able to reach out in key times during the transaction. The lenders aren't making any money off of this. It's not anywhere near what they would in a normal situation because it's not a new loan. So at that point, your buyer's representative, the realtor on the buyer side, is going to end up doing a lot of the work that sometimes the lender is doing at times in a normal situation. So with that, you want to be able to have the right people on your team to be able to get you to the closing table in a situation like this that could end up being very beneficial for both sides. In conclusion, the VA assumption can be a great tool for both sellers and buyers to get what they're looking for and find a win-win. It is not a guarantee though. It does not always work in every scenario, in every situation. So definitely check out what the pitfalls are for you individually and work with your realtor to be able to find that right fit if that opportunity comes in front of you. I'd make sure to take the time to interview realtors and be able to see what their experience is, not only with the VA assumption, but in general working with their clients. I'm Jerry Trickey with Keller Williams, Coastal Virginia. I'd love to talk to anybody who has any more questions about the VA assumption process and help you get to where you're trying to get in your real estate needs.